Vaping, smoking, hookahs can be quite controversial at times. Which one is better? Which one is more harmful? Well, the matter of fact is you shouldn't do any of those. More than 40 million people worldwide are vaping right now. 30 countries including India has banned e-cigarettes in 2019. There has been a symptom seen in people who are regularly vaping. It's called EVALI. EVALI is electronic cigarette or vaping associated lung injury. This causes people to have trouble breathing and even cause death. Since April 2019, 60 deaths and over 2500 hospital cases have been reported in America. In this video, we will discuss the effects of smoking and vaping on your body. Is vaping really better than smoking, and can vaping be used to quit smoking? I used to be a heavy smoker. I smoked my first cigarette 4 to 5 years ago, I guess. Now I'm completely sober. I don't smoke anything and I took a little assistance from vapes. So I will also discuss my own experience on vaping and how I'm one of those rare people who can actually quit smoking, and also how I did it. On February last year, Mumbai police raided a lot of pawn shops. The anti-narcotics cell raids multiple shops around the outskirts of Mumbai and found hundreds of e-cigarettes and vapes. Indian law has banned production, manufacturing, transport, and even sales of these e-cigarettes and e-cigarette components back in 2019.
Is first a decision to ban e-cigarettes, which is also otherwise technically called the ENDS, right? Now, what does the ban mean? It means production, manufacturing, import, export, transport or sale or even distribution and storage and advertisement relating e-cigarettes are all banned.
Despite the ban, vapes are marketed on social media or sold online through ads. Even in many shops, especially near schools and colleges. The cost of these vapes ranges around 500 rupees to 2500 rupees. And it's so easily available near schools and colleges that parents are afraid now. These laws vary from country to country, and some countries consider it completely illegal and some countries have a little restrictions on them. There are 35 countries who have regulations or banned e-cigarettes, including Australia, Mexico, Singapore and India of course. A report by Salam Bombay Foundation claims that 1 in 2 boys and 1 in 7 girls in Mumbai use e-cigarettes. I think it's not just vapes, it's just these kids think smoking is somehow cool in a sense. Well, I also used to think like that, but yeah, anyway. But like a lot of people say, is really vaping better than smoking? Regular cigarettes are far more addictive than these vaping products, for sure. They deliver many chemicals to the body along with nicotine. There are chemicals called monoamine oxidase inhibitors or MAOI. When you use nicotine that causes release of dopamine, that dopamine forms a dependency on addiction. And when you smoke or inhale these into your body, they act as antidepressant to your brain. And it amplifies the effect of nicotine on your brain. Cigarettes are actually a mix of number of psychedelic drugs. That's why it's so addictive. But nicotine alone is not that addictive. British public health experts say that e-cigarettes are around 95% less harmful than tobacco. But still, there are other components in a vape other than nicotine. The liquid inside the vape contains glycerol or propylene glycol. Also, you can inhale some amount of heavy metals in your body when you vape. As I said, one of the main risks of vaping is EVALI, a disease. Now, in some situations, it could be quite severe and even lead to death. This situation started to be noticed around the year 2019. So coming to the main 2 questions. 1. How do they compare and which one is better? Which one's worse? And 2. Is vaping a viable option in order to help quit smoking? Till date, as many researches are done, the overall outcome is vaping is far less harmful than smoking. But it's not that black and white. Even though we discussed about how vapes can have a lot of ingredients in it, it's still thought to contain less harmful chemicals and less carcinogens compared to traditional cigarettes. Carcinogens are basically substances that can cause cancer. According to American Lung Association, it takes around 600 chemicals to make a cigarette, including ammonia, acetone, methanol, butane, and carbon monoxide. And they say at least 69 of those chemicals are carcinogens, which simply means they cause cancer. So UK Health Security Agency conducted an experiment comparing vaping and smoking.
Here is the bell jar with cigarette smoke.
I mean, it just is so revolting. Look at this, that's just the inside of the jar. Here, a lump of tar. So that's what's going on inside your lungs. And now we're going to cut this tube. And look at that. There's loads of it. And this is only after 1 month. So is this what's happening inside our bodies when we smoke?
It's certainly a good indication. So now let's have a look at the e-cigarette.
Let's just see. A little bit of vapour. That's the only one that's really got much in the way of colour. Just feels wet.
My research shows that e-cigarettes are significantly less harmful than cigarettes.
So evidently, yes, vaping is way less harmful than traditional smoking cigarettes. If you think logically, the mechanism of vapes and mechanism of cigarettes are completely different. Tobacco is burnt in cigarettes, which produces carcinogenic chemicals, and this put you at risk of cancer. But in vapes, tobacco is not burnt. They have a mouthpiece, a heating element, a microprocessor, a battery, and a cartridge, which is loaded with a liquid. The atomizer contains a heating element which draws the liquid out of the cartridge, where it gets vaporized by a heating element. Alright, so now that I have explained the science behind both of them, it's time to answer the question. Is vaping really better than smoking? If you ask me, and according to a lot of scientists, the answer is yes. The liquid in vapes contain less nicotine than your average cigarette, and it usually doesn't contain any acetone or butane. So does this mean that vaping could be used as a viable option to help someone quit smoking? Well, there are some studies that imply this, and a lot of people in history, and including me, have used vapes to quit smoking. But there are some concerns in the medical community. One of those is we don't know the long-term effects of vaping on our body. There is so much data on traditional cigarette smoking because it's been here for centuries. And vaping is a new thing. We don't have sufficient data to support our claims. It's just been here for decades, I guess. We just need more time to see the long-term effects of vaping on our body. Maybe vapes are useful for people who are chronic smokers. Oh no! It is more effective compared to other solutions like nicotine patches or gums. In fact, scientists suggest vapes are twice as useful as nicotine gums in helping people quit smoking. So now, let's cut back to my story. It was, I guess, second year of college when I burned my first cigarette, obviously because of friends and everybody around me was smoking. And eventually the thing I started for fun became an addiction. From 1 cigarette a day to 2, then 2 to 3, then eventually it became a pack of cigarettes a day. It became very bad, very bad, and I couldn't stop. It continued for around 2 years, and then something unimaginable happened.
Welcome back. Let's turn to the other big story tonight. The first confirmed case of novel coronavirus reported from Kerala, where a student studying in China's Wuhan University has tested positive with the deadly virus. Indian students will now be evacuated from Wuhan from tomorrow, even as the death toll in China has climbed to 170.
COVID-19 lockdown, and we were all locked inside our homes. And that time I realized how bad my addiction was. I used to smoke so many cigarettes, and now I'm at home and I can't smoke anything. I couldn't go out and buy cigarettes, and of course I couldn't smoke inside my house. But the restrictions made me stronger and it got a little better. yes, after the lockdown was lifted, I was still smoking, but it reduced drastically. Like 1 cigarette a day or 1 cigarette in 2 days. Even I was smoking way lesser than before, I realized no smoking is better than smoking 1 cigarette, right? And one day I decided to stop smoking completely, and voila, it's been a year, I'm sober. So what exactly did I do? So I replaced smoking to other activities like exercising, working on my business. I started taking gym seriously, eating healthy, and rest of time I was just thinking about my business. Whenever I felt the urge, I just channeled that to exercising or just to working. I've also interacted with a few doctors regarding this. Some of them are just my school friends, and they always said one thing, that something can't just go away in a day. It has to be an eventual process. So one of them suggested me to decrease the dosage, and eventually by decreasing every day it will become null, and I followed that. Well, I decided to quit cigarette completely, so for those short dosages, I replaced them with vapes. So whenever I felt a strong urge to smoke, I just had 2 puffs of vapes. And eventually I didn't need cigarettes nor vapes, and here I am. But the problem is, instead of becoming a cigarette replacement, vaping has become a cool thing that kids are doing. A lot of kids, especially in colleges, are getting introduced to vapes. Cigarettes also came into our society like this only. Cigarettes were considered a symbol of masculinity and smoking was considered cool. I mean, yes, I'm not comparing cigarettes with vapes, but it's still harmful, right? Cigarettes were introduced to the world and in India in the late 1800s. And quickly it became a symbol of social power and cultural significance. Cigarette companies started adding new things in it to make them burn better, taste better, and deliver more nicotine into your brain. And cigarettes now have become so cheap that absolutely anybody can afford them. By 1950s, from Hollywood to Bollywood, everyone was smoking cigarettes. And it was not just a normal thing, a cool thing to do. Over the last few centuries, tobacco companies have become one of the most powerful companies in the world. There are 267 million tobacco users in India, making it the country with the second largest number of tobacco users in the world, behind China. Although vapes are nowhere near these numbers, but it's catching up. Vapes were banned in India 5 years ago, but people are still using it.
I actually tried it when I was smoking, the e-cigarette, but it was horrible because I could not regulate the amount of nicotine that was going in. So it was kind of...
What does that mean?
So, your body gets used to the nicotine that is there in every, cigarette. And it's like I'm comfortable. I used to be comfortable smoking 1 cigarette, but I was never a chain smoker. So I would get feel nausea if I smoke 3 cigarettes in one go. You taking in more nicotine than is required. So e-cigarette, I could not regulate that, so I stopped that. I went back to smoking.
E-cigarettes are so new to the market that it's impossible to know the full extent of health hazards that can cause bad things to your body. Studies also suggest that vaping hits your bloodstreams and brain faster than cigarettes. I had no intention of promoting vaping or any other addiction. I just said what I faced and what was my experience. The choice still remains at your hands. You want a healthy, loving life, or you just gonna have fun with that hit of dopamine you're gonna get with every smoke. It's all up to you, so make the right choice. Well, this is the end, and thank you for watching. See you in the next one.